There is no doubt that living with MS can be hard. It can be incredibly hard, but there are things that we can do with diet and lifestyle changes to help us manage our symptoms, improve our quality of life, and possibly prevent progression. 2025 is going to be our year to tackle lifestyle changes and support our health, right? Right? It is. You know how I know this? You told me. I asked you what you wanted to focus on in 2025, and you overwhelmingly told me lifestyle changes. So I'm going to give you what you want. Today, we're going to talk all about MS diets and how we can eat, drink, and be healthy with MS. I'm going to share a little bit about some of the more popular MS diets, how changing my diet has affected me and my MS over the past couple of decades, and some evidence-based tips to help us improve our diets. I'll also create a free tip sheet that you can download to help you implement these changes. Before we jump in though, I have a huge favor to ask. Could I please ask you to share this channel and share the videos with others? It's really helpful to me and the channel, and it will help it to reach others. Thanks. There are several MS diets out there. Here's a brief outline of some of the more popular ones. The Swank Diet. Dr. Roy Swank did research over a 50-year period on people with MS. He developed a diet to help people live better with their MS and possibly prevent progression. The basics of the diet are no processed foods with saturated fats or hydrogenated oils. Saturated fats should not exceed 15 grams per day, and overall fat should be kept low. As many fruits and vegetables as you want. No red meat for the first year, skinless poultry and whitefish, low-fat dairy, and only egg whites, no yolks, cod liver oil daily, whole grains, and snacks of nuts and seeds. The Overcoming MS Diet, developed by Dr. George Jelinek after he was diagnosed with MS. The basics of this diet are a predominantly plant-based whole food diet that's rich in omega-3s while excluding dairy and minimizing saturated fat intake. It encourages a wide variety of foods, including fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, fish and seafoods, flax oil, and extra virgin olive oil. The Best Bet Diet, developed by Matthew Embry and his father, Dr. Ashton Embry, after Matthew was diagnosed with MS. The diet recommends a diet predominantly made up of fatty fish, a wide variety of vegetables and fruits with an emphasis on berries, and nuts as a snack. It also includes a moderate amount of red meat once a week, olive oil, non-gluten grains, red wine, and eggs. The Wahl's Protocol. Dr. Terry Wahls developed her diet after being diagnosed with MS, receiving treatments, and continuing to decline. It's a modified Paleolithic diet. Unfortunately, the diet portion of her protocol is not listed on her website, but I have read her book and I found another website that lists the basics. It's primarily made up of meat and fish, vegetables, especially green leafy ones, up to 9 cups a day on level 1 of her program, brightly colored fruits like berries, fat from animal and plant sources, especially omega-3 fatty acids. What I'd like to point out is that these diets have more in common than they do different. They all focus on including whole, real foods, eliminating highly processed foods, focusing heavily on fruits and vegetables, and healthy fats like omega-3s. After my first relapse in 2006, I took a long, hard look at how I was taking care of my health. More accurately, how I wasn't. My body sent me a really strong message. It was in a state of dis-ease, and I wanted to get it back into a state of ease. I wanted to give it the best chance to be as healthy as possible. One of the areas that I really focused on was food, what I was fueling my body with. I started eating a more vegetarian diet that focused on whole, real foods. I also changed the way I exercised, slept, and handled stress, but those are topics for upcoming videos. I continued to make adjustments to my diet based on reading the best research I could find and taking courses on nutrition. How did making these changes affect me and my MS? Excellent question. I went 10 years without another relapse, and my overall health improved. After my second relapse, I was diagnosed in 2017, and I started taking a disease-modifying treatment. I also got back to work on my diet and lifestyle changes because, if I'm being really honest with you, some of my healthy habits had slipped a bit. I now eat a predominantly whole food plant-based diet. I've chosen to eat vegan for a number of health reasons: my health, the health and well-being of animals, and the health of the planet. I'm not perfect, and I don't believe that we need to be perfect. I still eat the occasional vegan cookie or french fries or potato chips. I aim for 90 to 95% whole food plant-based. I feel great. Eating this way helps me to manage my symptoms and possibly prevent progression. So let's jump into the diet tips that I have for you today. Number 1, eat whole, real foods. Look for single ingredient foods without any additives and that are full of nutrients like berries, broccoli, and beans. Give it a try. During the week this week, try eating only whole, real foods. This will crowd out the processed and junk foods, and it will help you to change the way you're eating. Eating whole, real, predominantly plant-based foods has been shown to help with many MS symptoms. In this study on a low-fat plant-based diet, it showed significant improvements in measures of fatigue, BMI, and metabolic biomarkers. And in this one on the Mediterranean diet, which is rich in plant foods and whole foods, it noted a significant association between Mediterranean diet score and cognition in a representative sample of people with MS. The strength of the relationship in progressive disease suggests a possibility of a neuroprotective mechanisms. Yeah, eat your veggies. Number 2, avoid packaged foods, fried foods, fast foods, and foods loaded with sugar. Look at the labels. If there are ingredients that are unrecognizable to you, put it back on the shelf. Your body may not recognize them either. MS is an inflammatory disease, and what we eat can contribute to the inflammation. In this study on ultra-processed foods and MS severity, they concluded that higher intake of ultra-processed foods was associated with greater odds of higher MS severity. Some foods that are linked to chronic inflammation are processed meats, refined carbs, fried foods, highly processed foods, trans fats, sugar-sweetened beverages, and alcohol. I know, you're now saying, but Vickie, what's left to eat? Instead of thinking of it as what you can't eat, try to flip it to what you can eat. There are over 20,000 kinds of edible plants out there that are so nutritious and so tasty. I encourage you to try to add new and different whole foods to your diet. Number 3, increase water. Staying well hydrated can help with a lot of our MS symptoms. It can help regulate our bladder and bowel movements, help with injection site reactions, and side effects from medications. It can also help with fatigue, the most common symptom of MS, and concentration and headaches. Aim for 80 to 100 ounces of water a day. It doesn't have to be just water. It can be water, seltzer, tea, or coffee. Tea and coffee both have a reputation for being dehydrating, but it's not the case. The caffeine can have a diuretic effect, but the fluid intake balances it out. Just don't make your only fluid during the day be coffee or tea. I get my fluids by drinking a 12-ounce glass of water as soon as I wake up, then 2 12-ounce mugs of half caffeine coffee, then a seltzer or water before lunch, one with lunch, one before dinner, one with dinner, and then one in the evening. That adds up to 96 ounces. If you don't like the taste of water, try putting in a slice of lemon or lime or cucumber, or perhaps a few berries. Frozen berries work really well for this. Definitely avoid sugar-sweetened drinks or those with artificial sweeteners. Number 4, increase fiber. Gut health is now known to play a role in MS. In one review, they found that there is mounting evidence in preliminary human studies suggesting that a dysbiotic MS gut microbiome could affect disease progression. One of the best ways to improve our gut health is to increase our fiber intake. 95% of Americans are fiber deficient. Increasing our fiber can help us with constipation and irritable bowel and help us to lose weight. It isn't just about increasing fiber, though. We need a good diversity of fiber. Dr. Will Bulsiewicz, in his book Fiber Fueled, says the single greatest predictor of a healthy gut microbiome is the diversity of plants in our diet, and the consumption of 30 different plants in a given week is the greatest predictor of gut microbial diversity. I know, it sounds like a lot, but let's take a look at how easy it can be. For breakfast, you may have oatmeal with strawberries, blueberries, chopped walnuts, and a tablespoon of ground flax seeds. That's 5. For a snack, you could have a smoothie made with banana, pineapple, mango, kale, and hemp hearts. That's 5 more. For lunch, you could have a salad with mixed greens. We'll say it has 5 different kinds of greens: carrots, cucumbers, tomato, onion, and bell pepper. That's 10 more. Dinner could be broccoli, tofu, and brown rice. That's 3 more. That's 23 in just one day. It's super easy to get 30 in a week. The recommended amount of fiber, according to the American Heart Association, is 28 grams of fiber per day, and the average intake is only about 14 grams. So for most people, there's a 14-gram gap. And number 5, eat enough protein. Protein helps us to maintain and build muscle. How much protein do we need? Recommendations from the National Institute of Health are 1, 1.3, and 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day is recommended for individuals with minimal, moderate, and intense physical activity, respectively. For those of us in the United States, that converts to 0.45, 0.62, and 0.72 grams per pound of body weight. I am a teeny person at only 4'10", and I'm currently 120 pounds, so I aim for 54 to 86 grams per day. Some are concerned about getting enough protein on a plant-based diet, but I'll let you in on a secret. All plants have some protein. It's true. Some great sources of plant-based protein are beans, legumes, grains, seeds, nuts, soy, and green leafy vegetables. In fact, green leafy vegetables are surprisingly high in protein. A cup of cooked spinach has 5.3 grams of protein, collard greens have 5.1 grams of protein, and mustard greens have 3.6 grams of protein. They're also a great source of calcium. Number 6, intermittent fasting may help. When we fast, we give our bodies a break from constantly working at digesting food, and it may help us to control our weight, we sleep better, and it may help us with our symptoms. In this study, they found a modified intermittent fasting protocol was demonstrated to be able to maintain muscle mass and strength, decrease fat mass, and improve some inflammation and cardiovascular risk factors. MS is an inflammatory disease, and we have increased risk factors of comorbid conditions such as cardiovascular disease. If intermittent fasting can help with these, I'm all for it. But that's not all. In this review from August of 2024, they reported that in general, intermittent fasting has been considered to improve multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and psoriasis, reducing inflammation and oxidative stress. One study showed that significant changes in cognition, pain, and fatigue were observed. And in another clinical trial on intermittent fasting, they reported improved brain cortex volume and thickness and reduced neuroinflammation, also accompanied by better disease outcomes as less fatigue and increased physical and mental health. Improved brain volume, reduced neuroinflammation, less fatigue, increased physical and mental health. Yes, please. Time-restricted eating seems to be a good thing. Eating to support our health can reduce inflammation, help us to manage our symptoms, and possibly reduce the risk of progression. I recommend eating whole foods that are as close to their natural state as possible, eliminating highly processed and packaged and junk food, drink a lot of water, focus on an abundance of fruits and vegetables to get a good diversity of fiber, get adequate protein, and consider intermittent fasting. Will you continue to make changes to your diet to support your health? Let me know in the comments below. To see more on how diet can help us to improve our health and our symptoms, watch this video next. Until next time, be well.